Welcome, my dear friends. Very good evening to all my dear CPGET 2024 aspirants. So very soon you will going to attend CPGET 2024 entrance examination for admission into post-graduation in the Department of Botany. So that's why don't waste your valuable time. In this regard, we would like to invite today's eminent resource person, Dr. A.KAVITHA Madam Garu, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Food and Nutrition, RBVRR Women's College Autonomous Hyderabad. Madam, please welcome. Today onwards, Madam will going to explain about the new topic related to our plant sciences, that is gymnosperms. So, Madam, please share your screen and start your session, Madam. Please welcome.
Okay, sir. Good evening, all of you. This is Dr. A.KAVITHA. So I'm going to start with the new topic of our botany subject, that is called as gymnosperms. Today we'll discuss about the general characters of gymnosperms. Okay, and just start sharing my screen. Hello, am I audible? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes,
am I audible? Okay, fine. Right. So let us start with this gymnosperms here. General characters regarding the gymnosperms. Now, so the term gymnosperm, we go for the history first actually. It was first coined by the scientist called as Theophrastus, way back in the year 372 to 286 BC. And for which plants he called this term gymnosperm is for the plants, those which are going to have the seeds which are naked and unprotected. That means the seeds are going to be seen directly on the plant body. Okay, so based on this, the gymnosperms are commonly known as naked. Gymnos means naked and sperma means seed. So gymnosperms are commonly known as naked seeded plants. That means to say, generally, where are the seeds located? So when you talk about when the seeds, where they are located, generally the seeds are located inside the fruit. That is ovary, inside the ovary. Right. So here in the gymnosperms, this ovary is not well developed. Okay, that is the reason why we can see the seeds directly exposed to the our eyes. We can see directly the seeds attached to the plant body. So such a type of plants are called as gymnosperms. Gymnos, naked, and sperma means a seed. So this is an important point. Common name for gymnosperms are naked seeded plants. Now, so these gymnosperms, they were first found to be originated in the Devonian period of the Paleozoic era and formed the superior vegetation in the Mesozoic. So they were first originated, they were first found in the Devonian period, and then they were dominated in the Mesozoic era of the geological time scale. Now, at present, in India or throughout our world, gymnosperms are represented by 72 genera and about 650 species were discovered till now. And all these species, they were widely distributed from north temperate region to the tropical regions of the world. So like that, these plants all were distributed throughout the world. Now, so we move on to the next topic here. So these gymnosperms, they are going to form the intermediate between pteridophytic plants and the angiosperms. That is, they are more advanced than pteridophytes and more primitive than the angiosperms. Okay, so they lie in between. That means they show some characteristic features of the angiosperms and also some characteristic features of the pteridophytes. So that is the reason why they are referred to as the intermediates between the primitive and the advanced forms. And these gymnosperm seeds are not enclosed in a ovary. Just now I told you, the seeds are not going to be enclosed in an ovary. Ovaries we stands for the fruit. So the seeds are, they are the seeds which are going to have a single integument, and the double fertilization is completely absent except the ephedra. So this is a one important point to be noted. So the seed of the gymnosperms, it is going to have only a single integument. What is this integument? Integument, it is the wall layers of the ovule. Generally, ovule get transforms into the seed after fertilization. So generally all the ovules, the angiospermic character, all the ovules, they are going to have the two integuments. But here, in the gymnosperms, you can see the seed is only with the single integument. And gymnosperms forms one of the major forest types of our planet, having the greatest economic importance as a source of timber and the wood pulp. So this regarding the economic importance, will have another session. And so these gymnosperms, they form the major forest type, because these are the plants which are huge in size and tallness. So you can see here the plants which are very tall. In the further slides, I'll show you. They are the very tallest plants, which forms a major source, the forest source of our economic importance as a source of timber and the wood. Now, so you can look into the diagrams over here. So you can see here, the plants are very, very tall. Okay, so the forest places, generally the forest places, they will be mostly occupied by these gymnospermic plants. Now, so when we talk about the habit, so how is the plant, the habit? These gymnosperms, they are woody plants. Okay, so you can see here, this is the trunk region, which is made up of wood. So they are woody plants and they are evergreen perennials, and they are represented by trees, shrubs, and rarely the climbers. Okay, so the example includes larix and taxodium. Now, next important point regarding the habit of these gymnospermic plants are, they are usually xerophytic. That is, they are xerophyte. We can see the xerophytic characters in them. And some of them are deciduous also, and while some others are evergreen. So here the best example I can quote here is Sequoia sempervirens. So this is a plant of California, or we call it as coast redwood. So this is one of the tallest living tree in the entire world. So this is the plant here, the image I'm showing you here. This is of Sequoia sempervirens, which is the tallest living tree, reaching a height of around 112 meters and attaining a growth of 15 meters height. Okay, so the height of this is very, very high. This example called as Sequoia. So please, you can note down this example. The tallest tree in the world of gymnosperms is, the example is Sequoia sempervirens. And the smallest gymnosperms is Zamia. It grows to a height of around only 25 centimeters tall. So regarding Zamia, Taxodium, these all you will study in your PG, that is MSc Botany, you'll study about that. The smallest gymnosperm is Zamia pygmea. It goes to a height of 25 centimeters. and the tallest is a sequoia plant. Now the taxodium here, so Taxodium mexicanum, it has a trunk with an enormous diameter of 17 meters. Now here the bristlecone pines. So the three pines, that is Pinus aristata, longevia, and balfonia, they are thought to reach an age greater than any other single organism. That is, they can grow up to 5,000 years also. So that is the reason why we call them as evergreen and perennial plants. So I hope this slide is clear. Gymnosperms are woody plants. They are perennial, evergreen, and they show the characteristic features of xerophytes. And Sequoia sempervirens is the tallest. Zamia among that is the smallest. And Taxodium is the one which is showing a trunk of diameter of 17 meters and all that. Okay, so this is about the main characteristic features. Now, occurrence. So the habitat, that is where we can find these gymnospermic plants. The living members, they are found in colder regions of the earth, where water is the source of rain is where snow is only the source of water, and only the members of cycadales and the needles, they thrive in a warm, dry climate. The members of cycadales and needles, these are the ones which are found in the terrestrial warm regions, warm, dry climate, and the remaining, all the other ones are found in the colder regions. So in the warmer areas, that is in the dry conditions, dry climatic conditions, we can see only less number of gymnosperms, the two only a handful. We call it as Cycas circinalis, which was found in the South India, and Oricaria heterophylla, which is a native of South America, New Zealand, and East Australia. So these are some examples where we can find them growing in the warm climatic conditions. Now, what are the xerophytic characters? I told you that these majority of the gymnosperms, they show xerophyte. That is, they are the xerophytes adaptation. Now, what are those characters here? So the gymnosperms are xerophytes in nature due to the presence of a very thick bark, thick hypodermis, thick cuticle. The leaves are reduced due to scales, sunken stomata, transfusion tissue. So these are some xerophytic characters. And apart from that, in some cases, the leaves are going to be modified into scale-like or needle-like structures. So for this, Pinus is a very good example where the leaves are needle-like. They are very, very thin, sharp, and long structures. So we call them as needles. And so this is the adaptation due to which they can withstand the water stress in air and the colder regions. Now the plant body, just like the pteridophytes, even here the plant body is a sporophyte, and it can be differentiated into root, stem, and the leaves. And here the life cycle of the gymnosperms is represented by heteromorphic alternation of generation. That is, sporophytic generation and the gametophytic generation, they both alter with each other and they both differ in their morphology. So hence we call it as heteromorphic alternation of generation. Now, next to the plant body, we told you that it is the dominant phase is the sporophyte. So this one, it may be monoecious or dioecious. And the gametophytes are inconspicuous and the endosporic, that is, they develop with the spores. So the plant body will develop the spores. Next, when we talk about the root system, that is the morphology of the plant body, here we discuss the root system. So as the plants are very, very tall and possessing the xerophytic characters, generally the plants have a well-developed taproot system. And in some of the gymnosperms, the roots show a symbiotic association. So the best example here are the coralloid roots in the cycas. That means in the cycles roots are going to show the symbiotic association with some blue-green algal members. So with algae, so that is the blue-green algal members, and some of the roots, they also show the association with the fungi also. The best example is the pinus, where we can see the mycorrhizal roots, that is the mycelium associated with the roots. It is called as mycorrhizal roots. So these two are a very best example here, where the plant is showing a symbiotic association. So this is also an important point. Presence of coralloid roots is a best example in cycas, whereas mycorrhizal roots is the best example in the pinus. Whereas when we talk about the anatomy of this taproot system, the root system here, the xylem is of exarch condition and showing a presence of two vascular bundles to many vascular bundles, that is diarch to polyarch condition. So this is about the root system. Now when we go for the stem, so the stem is erect, that is standing straight, woody in nature, and branched. So unbranched stem, we can see it in the cycas plant, and whereas tuberous, okay, the stem is getting modified into tubers, that is in case of zamia, which is the smallest gymnospermic plant. And the presence of leaf scars on the stem, it is a characteristic feature of the gymnosperms. Okay, on the stem, the leaves, as the plant grows older and older, the older leaves will shed down, and the remnant of that leaf will be in the form of a leaf scar on the stem. So this is a characteristic feature of on the stem. That is a characteristic feature of the gymnospermic stem. The complete stem, you can see the presence of the leaf scar. That is the point where the leaf was developed. That is regarding the stem. Now when we go for the next part of the plant, that is the leaves. Now here the leaves are arranged on the stem. Either it may be spirally arranged or it can be cyclic arrangement. And these leaves, what we observe here, we can see only a single type of leaves, that we call it as monomorphic, or presence of two kinds of leaves can be seen, that is a dimorphic leaves, examples like foliage leaves as well as the scale leaves. Scale leaves are the one where the leaves are reduced to the scale-like structures, and the foliage leaves are the leaves which are going to perform the photosynthesis, and these leaves are said to be as foliage leaves. Now you can see here, the foliage leaves are green, they are simple and maybe small. That's why we call it as microphyllous. Example is the pinus, or the larger leaves, which we call it as megaphyllous leaves in case of cycas. So the main function of these foliage leaves are what? Photosynthesis. And whereas the scale leaves, which I told you, this is a xerophytic character where the scales are reduced to the needle-like structures. Okay. And these are present around the reproductive structures and mainly play a role of protection. Next comes to the vascular bundles here, the xylem and the phloem. So that here, as it is developed from the pteridophyte, it shows some advancement in the vascular nature. So the composed of xylem parenchyma, xylem will be of xylem parenchyma, tracheids, and these tracheids are with bordered pits, whereas xylem vessels are absent. And compared to when you go for the phloem, phloem is composed of sieve cells and the phloem parenchyma, but companion cells are absent. So the presence of companion cells, presence of xylem vessels, that we can observe in the angiospermic plants. So that is the reason why we say that gymnosperms are the intermediate plants between the first vascular plant pteridophytes and the higher advanced plants called as angiosperms. Now, when we go for the reproduction point of view, the plant body, as I told you, it is a sporophyte developing the spores. So depending upon how many type of spores are produced, we can see a heterosporous condition here that is called as heterospory. That is, the gymnosperms are going to develop two types of spores. One is microspores, that is the smaller spores, what we call as microspores, which are produced in the microsporangia. And the larger spores, what we call them as megaspores, they are produced within the megasporangia of the ovule. Now, both the types of sporangia, these are developed on the leaf-like structures called as sporophylls. So the sporophyll which is bearing microsporangia, we call them as microsporophyll, and the sporophyll which is developing the megasporangia, they are called as megasporophylls. And these sporophylls here, they are aggregated together or they are spirally arranged on a long axis to form a compact cone or the strobili. The male cones, so here depending upon the sporophyll, if it is a microsporophyll, then the cone developed, we call it as male cone. And suppose if the plant is going to develop the megasporophyll, and due to the presence of these megasporophylls, the cone is said to be as the female cone. Next, the female gametophyte. So as the megaspores, it will develop into the, the microspores, it develop into the microspores, they develop into the male gametophyte, and the megaspore, it will develop into the female gametophyte. The male gametophyte here, it produces only 2 male gametes. Generally, out of them, one will be functional. And the female gametophyte, it contains archegonia. Now, so pollination when we talk about, so as here the male spore, we call it as, or the microgamete, we call it as the, that is a microspore which is developing the male gametophyte. It is called as the sperm, okay, or the male gamete. So the male gamete, it is going to fuse with the female gamete, which is located inside the archegonia. So the pollination is said to be of anemophilous type. That is, the pollen grains which are carrying the male gamete here is referred to as a pollen grain. So these pollen grains, they are transverse, that is, they are dispersed into the air and brings about pollination. So such a pollination is called as anemophilous pollination. So don't get confused here. Writing that anemophilous means the pollination occurring by animal. No, it is not like that. Anemophilous pollination means the pollination which is occurring through air. That is, the male gametes or the pollen grain, they are moving from one place to the another place with the help of the air as a medium of transport. And when we talk about the archegonia, a distinct ovary, style and stigma, they are absent. Okay, so as it is a primitive than angiosperm, so there is a distinction of ovary, style and stigma are absent. But pollination is direct as the stigma is absent. The pollen grains, they directly reach the micropylar end of the ovule, and there is a requirement of external water. External water is not required here because the male gametes, they are carried with the help of the wind or air. So there is no requirement of any water here in the gymnosperm. Whereas in the pteridophytes, water plays a very important role for fertilization. So as the anthrozoids, the male gametes need to travel through the water as a medium. But here the male gametes or the pollen grains, they are traveling in the air. So as they are traveling in the air, so these pollen grains, when I talk about, they are having the specialized structures called as wings. So the pollen grains are going to be attached with the wings. So with the help of these wings, they could able to fly in the air and reach the archegonia. Wherever the archegonia is available, they can reach the archegonia. That is, these gametes, they fall on the archegonia and they directly reach the ovule for the fusion, where there is the presence of the female gamete. Now, fertilization. So here the fertilization is represented as siphonogamous fertilization, and double fertilization is absent. No, after the fertilization, the zygote is developing into the embryo and the ovules are getting transformed into the seed. And here, when we talk about the ovules, here there is no ovary formation. There is no ovary as such. So the ovules are sessile ovules. They doesn't have any stalk. And we call them as naked ovules, as they doesn't have any ovary. And generally, these ovules are of orthotropous type. That is the straight ovule. And it can be the unitegmic. These ovules can be unitegmic or bitegmic. That is presence of only a single integument or two integuments in case of neter. And the embryo, that is after the zygote is formed, it develops into embryo. And the embryo development, which is refers to as the meroblastic embryo development, that it is going to develop from only a small part of the zygote. And after the embryo is going to develop the cotyledons, so the seed is going to develop here. The seed is going to consist of 2 cotyledons in case of cycas and many cotyledons in case of pinus. It ranges from 2 to 14. And we can see here, as the tree is going to have a very huge trunk, so we can even find the secondary growth observed in the wood. That is, a cambium is going to be developed from a secondary wood, and this wood is of monoxylic or it can be a pycnoxylic wood. Now, so what are the connecting links here we talk about? The lower gymnosperms like cycadales, they resemble the pteridophytes in the absence of vessels and the wood fibers, whereas the higher gymnosperms like nettles and the coniferales, they are resembling the higher angiospermic plants. So here this is a plant called as cycas plant, and this is a cone or the strobili developed at the time of reproduction. So it belongs to the division called as Cycadopsida. So gymnosperms here, they are divided into 3 subdivisions called as Cycadopsida, Neotopsida, Coniferopsida, etc. Now Cycadopsida here, it is a smaller group of gymnosperms which is going to have a palm-like habit. So we'll get mistake by observing the cycas. It just be similar to the palm tree, but it is not a palm tree. We can see here, the palm will be going to have the palmate leaves, okay? But whereas here, you can observe the leaves. The leaves are here just like a fern, pteridophytic character, okay? Feather-like, okay? Fern-like foliage. So that is the reason why it represents or it resembles a pteridophyta plant. And the leaf bases are often persistent. So when the older leaves are drop off, the leaf scar will be there on the stem. So with that characteristic feature, we can identify them as cycas or the plants belonging to the Cycadopsida. And in the stem, when you take the transverse section of the stem, the vascular tissues constitutes only a narrow patch. That is, the vascular tissues are in the form of a narrow vascular bundles, though secondary growth occurs. And these plants belonging to the Cycadopsida, the plants are dioecious. That means to say male plant will be different from the female plant. That is, male plants will develop microsporophyll and the female plants will develop megasporophylls. Now, megasporophylls are often leaf-like and they possess ramina, and the sperms are motile. That is, the male gametes are motile. And the plants are mostly xerophytes, which grows in the warm weather conditions. So this is about the characteristic features of Cycadopsida. Now, the next division we'll go for, that is called as Coniferopsida. Now, conifers, we call it as conifers. So the best example here is Pinus. Okay. So these comprises of more than 500 living species, and the cores, and these are the cones which are bearing gymnosperms, which have a competition to grow along with the angiosperms. So these plants, the plants which are belonging to the Coniferopsida, they are evergreen plants with dense and the massive vascular tissues, and the gametes, the male gametes which are developed, they are non-motile. And usually these plants are monoecious. That is, we can see the development of male cone and the female cone on the same plant. And these cones or the strobili, they are compact. That means they are very tight enough and woody in nature. Okay, so these conifers you can see here. So the best examples I told you, it is of Pinus. We call it as Pinus, Araucaria, Cedrus, Juniper, Cupress. They all comes under this examples of Coniferopsida. Okay, right. So the plants are monopodial. That is, they have the presence of only a single branch. That is, they develop only the only one type of branches we can see here. That is why we call them as monopodials. And the plant gives an appearance of a cone shape. They appear just like a cone. The best example, a Christmas tree. How the Christmas tree, it will be just like a cone shape. Even conifers also, they appear just like a conical or a Christmas tree shaped. And dimorphic branches. So some of the examples, we can see the presence of two different types of branches. One branches are called as long branches with indefinite growth, on which the leaves are mostly borne on the dwarf branches, and the dwarf are the branches of limited on the definite growth. And these plants, they possess an aromatic, antiseptic, sticky fluid substance, what we call it as resins, and it is secreted by the special ducts called as the resin ducts, observed in wood, bark, leaves, as well as the roots. Now, Araucaria, among this Coniferopsida, Araucaria, it is considered to be a tall plant, and it is considered to be a majestic conifer of South America, New Zealand, and East Australia, and it grows in warm weathers in the plain regions, in the plains. Whereas the other conifers, they form a dominant woodlands of north temperate regions of Europe, Asia, and the North America. So the best examples, what we told you here is Pinus, what we call it as pine plant, Cedrus, next Picea, Abies, and Juniperus, Thuja, etc. So they all going to be found growing in the higher hilly areas of Himalayas. Next it comes to the ginkgoales or ginkgo biloba. So this is considered to be as a living fossil of the gymnosperm. This is a very good example. The living fossil of the gymnosperms. Example, dash is considered as a living fossil of gymnosperm. So the example is ginkgo biloba. It belongs to the order ginkgoales. Okay. Now, Gingopsida, it is represented only by a single species called as ginkgo biloba. So it is a primitive gymnosperm, which is going to have the deciduous leaves with furcate. So you can see here, with a furcate venation. That means it appears just like a fan shape. The leaves will be in the form of a fan-shaped structure. And it possesses dimorphic branching. That is, two types of branches can be seen. And the plant is an unisexual plant having male inflorescence with catkin-like inflorescence with microsporangia. Microsporangiophore developing the microsporangia. And from this microsporangia, we can see the development of multiciliate male gametes and a clusters of megasporangiate with a long stalk. The another group of gymnosperms comes under the division called as Neotopsida. And well, there are three genera belonging to this division Neotopsida. We call it as Netum, Ephedrum, Ephedra, and Welwitschia. These are the three best examples belonging to Neotopsida. So these are called as, these three are known as monogeneric families. That is, each family, Netum, Netaceae, it have only one genera. Ephidraceae, Ephedra, only one genera. Welwitschia, Welwitschia. So three families with only one genera. That is the reason why we call them as monogeneric families. So these are very near to the flowering plants in having flower-like arrangement. You can see here, these are the flowering-like arrangement of the sporopils, possessing a very primitive vessels in the xylem. Okay, so these are some of the general characters pertaining to the gymnosperms. So please, any doubts in this session? Anybody here? Any doubts? Yeah. Yes, Nayana. What is your doubt?
Ma'am, in main character
Your voice is breaking, huh?
of gymnosperms, you said no, ma'am.
Yeah.
Characteristic features you said no, ma'am. Of
Your
gymnosperms.
Your voice is not clear, ma. Yes, you can chat. You can have a chat in the chat box so that I can see.
I'll put it in chat box, ma'am.
Okay, important questions from this topic. That is the one you want to discuss? Yeah, the important.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the important one is, you can see this slide. Can you see the slide here? Can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So see this example.
Yes, ma'am.
This example, Sequoia sempervirens. This is the tallest gymnosperm. So this is very important. Smallest gymnosperm, Zamia. Okay. Next.
Okay,
Gymnosperms show the xerophytic characters. Gymnosperms show the xerophytic characters. Now, what are the xerophytic characters? You can see this slide here. Gymnosperms are considered as xerophytes because, why they are considered as xerophytes? Because they have very thick bark. We can see the presence of scale leaves, sunken stomata, a very thick cuticle. Okay. So these are the characteristic features of the xerophytes, xerophytic adaptations. So this point is very important. And moving on to the leaves here. The leaves are of two types. Okay, we call them as foliage leaves and the scale leaves. Heterosporous condition, this is also one other important point. Pollination here, I have put that in the blue here, you can see. Pollination is of anemophilous type. Pollination is carried out by the wind. So this is a very important point. Naked seeded plants. Plants are naked seeded. That is another important point. Ovules are that the seeds are directly attached to the plant. Okay. Next comes.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. And next comes here in the cycas. Cycas is the one which represents a palm-like structure. Palm tree. Coniferopsida. So it appears this are the one where the leaves are needle-like. Okay, best example, pinus. You can see here, the leaves are pine. That is, the leaves are needle-shaped structures. So the best example. And here the another example, Ginkgo biloba. It is the living fossil of gymnosperms. Okay. Next,
Okay, ma'am.
Neotopsida, Netum ephedra. They are the one which are showing the close resemblance with the angiospermic plants. So all these what I told you, they all are the some important points to be noted among the general characters. So
Okay, ma'am.
yeah, I hope this character is clear. I hope this character is clear for you all. Right.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank
I
you
understood.
so much. Yeah. Thank you so much. Sir, I have done with the topic.
Yeah, excellent, madam. Very beautiful slides and nice presentation. Our aspirants are very happy to interact with you, madam. That's enough for the students' satisfaction. Really wonderful session, madam.
Thank
So
you.
tomorrow we will meet at what time, madam?
2 o'clock, sir.
Okay, 2 o'clock. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock. As usual, our madam session is start. Session will start. Okay. Thank you very much, madam.
Right. Thank you.
Sir.